Recording in
myosin.
progress.
These interact with actin protein, and they are responsible for the muscle contraction, right? So they also perform cytokinases and exocytosis and endocytosis. We already discussed these exocytosis and endocytosis earlier, right? So in these also, this myosin giving some support, right? Are you clear about the structure of the cytoskeleton? And there are the three main functions we can see: mechanical support, anchor the organelles. That's mean we already discussed how the organelles are suspended, which are the help and support is giving by the cytoskeleton. How these motor proteins are helping to anchor the organelles, which giving some equal pressure from the both from the cell membrane side and the nucleus side, and it also helps to move the substances throughout the flow. And further, we can say supporting the structure of the cytoplasm. And already we said it's like a fluid substances, and how it's supporting with the cytoskeleton. And microfilament is composed of the actin and myosin. And one more thing. And microtubule is usually longer and thicker than microfilaments. These help certain organelles to move from place to place, right? So, for example, vesicle and mitochondria movements, right? So, this all about the cytoskeleton. And next one is cilia and flagella. So these are flexible projections that extended outward from the cell. So through they are still surrounded by the cell membrane, right? So here it's made up of microtubules with 9+2 structure, and they are an important component of cell parts that are involved in motion of the cell. So cilia and flagella, it's help of in the motion of the cell, and flagella are longer than the cilia, but fewer in number, right? Flagella is longer than cilia, but fewer. So cilia is high in number, right? So cilia, we can say cilia are hair-like projections, small structure present outside the cell wall, and it's work like oars to either move the cell or the cell extracellular fluid, right? Flagella are slightly bigger and responsible for the cell movement. That means it's longer than the cilia. And the eukaryotic flagellum structurally differ from its prokaryotic counterpart, right? So the core of the cilium and flagellum is called axon. Right, which contains 9 pair of gradually arranged peripheral microtubules and a set of central microtubules running parallel to the axis. So that is axon, right? So the central tubules are interconnected by a bridge and are embedded by a central sheath. So one of the peripheral microtubular pair is also interconnected to the central sheath by a radial spoke. So this is about the 9+2 structure, right? So main function of this cilia and flagella is locomotion, that motion or mobility, and it transport of material of cell surface. And next one is centriole. So that centrosome organelle is made up of two mutually perpendicular structure is known as centrioles, right? So that's mean that that centrosome organelle is made up of two mutually perpendicular structure is known as centriole. Each centriole is composed of 9 equally spaced peripheral fibrils of tubulin protein. Where you can find the tubulin protein?
Microtubules.
Yes. And the fibril is a set of interlinked triplets, right? So here we can observe that structure, right? And we see here this is the triplet structure plus 9 equally spaced peripheral fibrils of tubulin proteins, right? So this is the structure for the centriole. So this centriole is aid in cell division. Aid mean so it's help in cell division found in pairs in animals, and also we can find in some algae and fungi also have some centrioles, and play an important role in cell reproductions, right? So this is what we are going to discuss further. And made up of microtubules, we know how the structure is, right? And the arrangement of microtubules in cilia, flagella, and centrioles are very similar. So we already discussed how the structure is here and here, right? So that's all regarding the cell organelles. We have completed the discussion of the cell organelles.
Recording stopped.
And we will move into the next chapter. Is a structure that maintains the shape and internal organization of the cell, right? Which is help to giving the mechanical strength and support to the internal organization. That means internal content, the inner parts, inner content, that mean organelles and some other protein which is inside the cell, right? And also it's giving some mechanical support, right? So it's made up of 3 types of fibers. What are those? Microfilaments, microtubules, and intermediate filaments, right? So microtubules, those are proteinous fibers. So each and every thing has some protein structure, that protein. So particularly we can say microtubules, that one kind of fibers, microtubules consist of tubulin protein. And another one is microfilament, that is consist of actin protein. So each and every types of fiber having different functions, right, according to the need of the cell, right? And another one is intermediate filament, that is help in the formation of creation of keratin and the neurofilaments. So somehow it's doing some different function to maintain the mechanical support and the controlling the movement of the cell inner parts, right? And also cytoskeleton have some special protein that we call motor proteins. Through that motor proteins also cytoskeleton do some support to that cell contents. So those cytoskeleton motor proteins, we can say kinesin, dynein, and another one is myosin. So each and every motor protein have different functions. That kinesin is somehow that somewhat they pull the organelles. So inside there are organelles in the cell. So kinesin protein that pull the organelles along the cell membrane, right? And dynein is doing opposite work. So dynein is pull the cell organelle towards the nucleus. So to that particular organelle, so there are some equal pressure we give to that organelle. Then that will suspend it and will locate it in a particular place for the mechanical strength and support. So this is how these cytoskeleton give the mechanical strength and develop the support to these cell content. Right. Likewise, myosin is help in the muscle contraction. So overall, if we talk about the cytoskeleton functions, we can say in quickly we can say it provides the shape and support to these cells, and it helps the formation of vacuoles. And another thing we can say, it holds different organelles in different places. Right? How they are hold these different organelles, we can say how these motor proteins are held. Right? And also I missed one thing to say it the cytoskeleton also help in cell signaling, right? And that it supports that cytoskeleton that made up of different type of fibers that is supports the intracellular movements. Like we can say that as the movement of cell organelles and transportation of vesicles, which is formed from the ER, then it's transported to the Golgi body. We discuss those things when we discuss that ER and Golgi body structure and function. So how those vesicles are moved without any support. So this cytoskeleton and cytoskeleton's motor proteins are held in that case. Right? So these all about the cytoskeleton. Do you want any other more clarification? Clear? Okay. So you want to remember what is cytoskeleton. So if I ask, explain the cytoskeleton for 5 marks or 10 marks, you want to give the definition. So what is that? So you want to say about the, but quickly you want to say about the structure. And if I ask the function only, you can say the function. Otherwise, if I ask what is cytoskeleton for 5 marks, you want to say cytoskeleton is a network structure that maintains the shape and structure and provide the mechanical support to the cell. That's enough for the 5 marks. Right? So then, according to the questions and marks allocation, you want to expand your answers types. Right? So we will move towards the new chapter is cell division. So far we somehow we have discussed about the cell division, cytogenesis in when we are discussing about the cell organelles, right? Anybody have any doubts in the cell organelles? Then only I can move into the cell division. So if you understood the cell organelles only, we can you can clearly move into this cell divisions. Shall I start cell division? Okay, here I have typed as AGB. For you, it's AB. Earlier it was AGB.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Cell division, that cellular division. So first, please think about the cell division. You already studied about the cell division in A level. So just think, what is cell division? What role does cell division play? Why is it important? And what is the role of chromosomes in cell division? Does cell division stop when you are finished growing? Right? So think about these questions. What do you think about these questions? Any volunteers? Any volunteers? You can say if it is right, I will appreciate you. If it is wrong, it doesn't matter. We are here to discuss. I need your response. No any response? Multiplication. Yes, okay. Multiplication of same cell. Okay.
It contains two phases.
It contains two phases. Two phases. Think about again. Two phases mean what? What you are telling that two phases?
Meiosis
Meiosis, mitosis. Okay, so when you are saying one answer, you should be clear. So I appreciate you. So you said it has two phases. Yeah. Remember, while we are discussing, you will realize what are those, right? And some more answers in chat box. Cell 077 said cell division is making any new cells. Okay. 147 said where parent cells are divided into two daughter cells. Okay. 30 said important in both sexual and asexual productions. 130 said multiply involving nuclear and cytoplasmic. Okay. Abdul Wadi. The sequence of events take place in the cell from the end of one cell division to another cell division. I appreciate your answers. We'll discuss further. Right? And one more thing, please unmute and talk with me. So you are typing these answers now. Please unmute and tell your own voice. Right? With your own voice, I need to hear from you. Right? 019 said the cell division is dividing one cell into many cells, identical or genetically non-identical. Yes, good. We will discuss how these identical or non-identical cells are formed. Right? Okay, thank you for your responses. And we will discuss further what is cell division and role of the cell division, important, how the chromosomes involved in the cell divisions. Right? So what do you think the important structure involved in the cell division? Any idea from the cell organelles? We have studied about the cell structure, that cell organelles. From each and every cell organelles, we have discussed where these are going to help, what function these are doing. So from that, do you have any idea the most important cell structure involved in cell division? Without this structure, the cell division can't complete. Do you think any other cell structure?
centrioles,
Yes, centrioles. Good.
Nucleus.
Repeat. Two voice skin.
chromatide,
Chromatides. Yes.
Nucleus.
Nucleus. Okay. Yes. Okay. Here I'm going to discuss the cell structures. Chromatide and centromere, centriole, spindle. Quickly think about these structures: chromatids, centromere, centriole, spindle. So I think those first three somehow we have discussed earlier, but spindle here it's new word for you in this discussion. 083 said microtubules. Abdullah did say chromosomes. Okay. Right, we'll see. Chromatids. So chromatids are the chromatid, each strand of a duplicated chromosome. It's a duplicated chromosome. So each strand of duplicated chromosome. That centromere, the area where each pair of chromatids join. That means where each pair of chromatids join. This area is centromere. Centrioles. So we just now we have discussed about the centrioles. So centrioles are the tiny structures located in the cytoplasm of animal cells that help to organize the spindle, right? And the spindles, it's fan-like microtubule structure that help to separate the chromatids, right? So it's like fan-like microtubule structure. So we'll see how it's formed, how it's helped in the separation of chromatids, right? So these are things you need to know about the important structures involved in the mitosis. All right, cell division, right? All cells are derived, means we can say formed, or those are derived from pre-existing cell, already existed cells. That is, that cells not formed from the new cells or new things. They are forming from the pre-existing cells. Already there are one cell. From that cell only new cells can be formed, right? So new cells are produced for growth and to replace damaged or old cells, right? So we already discussed how that if anything damaged or deterioration or anything happen, destruction happen in the cells, how cell is getting improved from that. Now if the particular cell is damaged, what going to be happen, that damaged cell or the old cell, the aged cell want to replace by the new cells, then only that organ functions will be happen properly, right? So uh, the cell division can be differs in prokaryotes and eukaryotes, right? So we will discuss how these prokaryote cell division happen and eukaryote cell divisions happen. And you also told it production of identical cells. What does it mean by identical cell, right? So identical daughter cells mean same, equal, uh, that shapes, right? So shapes and structures, not in size, right? So if it is the parent cell, see the structure and shape. So the identical daughter cell will be formed like from the parent cell, it will form two cells. See, the shape and structure is same as the parent cell, but small in size, right? So this is identical daughter cell, right? If the new cell formed from the old cell, that means that if we talk about this is old cell, this is new cell, the old cell is called as parent cell. From the parent cell, the new cells forming from the parent cells known as daughter cells, those are same in shape and structure. That's why we telling identical, right? Identical daughter cells. So please be clear on the words, the scientific words. You know the things, you know the idea, but the words and the terminology will be give you difficulties, right? And keeping cells identical. How you are thinking? How these daughter cells also identical? how it's happening. Please think the knowledge we studied the cell organelles, the particular organelles we have studied. Under that, we have talk about this. How these are maintaining as identical. Any volunteers, please quickly unmute and talk. Yes, you are saying genes. Okay, good. Genes made up of what? Made up of
DNA.
DNA. Good. Okay, you have the concept. Right. So we will see how these cells are keeping identical. Right. So the instruction for making the cell parts. So that procedures or guidelines from that cell parts are encoded in the DNA. Right. So these DNA have all the decodes and that the codings is located in the DNA. So each new cell must get a complete set of the DNA molecules. Right. So first, this DNA molecule comes to these new cells. So which is having all the coding same like the parent cell. Right. And we see the DNA replication. Before moving into that cell division, I need you all should be clear in these simple processes, right? So DNA replication, how it's happening. So here we can say DNA must be copied or replicated, before the cell division, right? And each new cell will have an identical copy of DNA, right? So original DNA strand, that means it coming from parent, right? So from the original DNA strand, that DNA replication is going to happen. So this process is DNA replication. So it will happen or it will start before the cell division, right? And then it will move into both two identical daughter cells. So here also we can say these both DNA strand, new DNA strand also identical. See, these identical DNA strands will move into the new cells, which is giving the identical nature for both daughter cells, because each these new DNA strand have same codings, which is going. So we can say this is how the heredity is passing throughout the generations, right? So chromosomes. Prokaryotic chromosomes. So here you can discuss about the prokaryotic chromosomes. The DNA of prokaryotes, that for example bacteria, we can say is one cellular chromosome attached to the inside of the cell membrane, right? Eukaryotic chromosomes. So all eukaryotic cell store genetic information in chromosomes. Most eukaryotes have between 10 to 50 chromosomes in their body cells, and the human body cells have 46 chromosomes. Otherwise, we can say 23 identical pairs, right? And each chromosome is composed of a single tightly coiled DNA molecule, and chromosomes can't be seen when cells are not dividing and are called chromatin. See, these are the uncoiled chromatins and compacting DNA into chromosomes. So now, until now we have discussed the chromosomes, how the chromosomes are compacting as a DNA. DNA compacting into chromosomes. So DNA is tightly coiled around the protein called histone. So we already discussed these things, the DNA molecule and histone protein and chromatin in the nucleus, under the nucleus sections. And chromosomes, how the chromosomes perform in the cell division. So duplicated chromosomes are called chromatids. Duplicated chromosomes are called chromatids, and they are held together by the help of centromere structure. Centromere. So we already discussed. This is the area is known as centromere. So this is one chromatids. This is another chromatids. So both two chromatids are binding or held together with the centromere. So we call this two chromatid as a sister chromatid because those are identical in shape, in size, and they are together. They are along with two.
Recording stopped.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
So here the power cut was happened. I was disconnected. Okay. So where I have disconnected when I explain what
About the sister chromatid.
okay. Right?
Recording in
So
progress.
sister chromatids, why we call that sister chromatids? Both are the same identical chromatids. Both are in same size and shape. They are joined together with the help of centromere. So we call that as sister chromatids. Right? And we will move into the cell reproduction. So types of cell reproduction. So we can say sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, right? So don't pronunciate that as asexual and sexual, right? Asexual reproduction that involves a single cell, right? So that involves a single cell dividing into make two new identical daughter cells, right? From the single cell, two identical daughter cells will be produced. And we can say mitosis and binary fissions are the examples of asexual reproduction, right? The sexual reproductions that involves two cells. See, here asexual reproduction having that involves single cell. Here for the sexual reproduction, it's involved two cells. For example, we can say egg cells and sperm cells. So that two cells joining to make a new cell. So that new forming cell is known as zygote, right? So that is not identical, right? That is not identical to the original. That means to the parents, right? So these two cells we can say parent cells. From the parent cells, the zygote is formed. That zygote are not identical. So now you know what is identical, right? So for the sexual reproduction, we can see the example is meiosis, right? Meiosis. So now you understood where the mitosis coming and where the meiosis is coming. And we'll discuss the cell division in the prokaryotes, right? So, how the cell division happen in the prokaryotes? So, prokaryotes such as bacteria, we'll explain or we'll discuss about the bacteria. Here, the bacteria divide into two identical cells by the process of binary fission. So, this also you know we have discussed in earlier, right? Bacteria is producing two identical cells in the process of binary fission. So here, how it's happening, the single chromosomes makes a copy of itself, right? See here, if we take this as a parent cell, here the chromosomes is copying itself into two, right? So chromosomes doubles now. Then the cell walls form between the chromosomes dividing the cells. Right? See here that then after the chromosomes doubles, that cell walls will be dividing. Right? So cell wall forms in between these two chromosomes. Then these are separated by this division. Here the division will happen. So this will create or this will form new two cells. Those two cells are same in shapes and structures. So those are identical daughter cells. This is how the binary fission is happening, right? So these formation of cell wall and division, these things we have discussed how it's happening, right? You see this animation? I think this animation is not working. I have put one animation here for the explanation of binary fission. Right? Then we will move into the cell cycle. Right? So the cell cycle, we can say the cell cycle refers to the series of events that take place in a cell resulting in the duplication of DNA and division of cytoplasm and organelles to produce two daughter cells. Right? So, what are the things you want to say when I ask, give the definition of cell cycle? What do you want to give? First, you want to say it's a series of events. Right? So, take place where? Take place in a cell. And resulting what? So this is what the process, series of events, the continued process with some steps, and where it's happening, take place in a cell, right? So from that, what's the result? What's the result?
The
Duplication of DNA and division of cytoplasm, because earlier parent cell has one cytoplasm. Now there are two daughter cells, so it wants to divide into both two daughter cells. So division of cytoplasm and organelles, right? To produce the finally it's producing two daughter cells. This is the final product of the cell division or cell cycle. Understood? So now with these key points, you can create the definition. So cell cycle is known as the series of events which is take place in a cell for resulting in the duplication of DNA and division of cytoplasm and organelles to produce two identical daughter cells, right? So if I ask that mitosis cell division definition, you can say two identical daughter cells. Otherwise, don't tell two identical, right? We'll see. So, who discovered about the study of cell cycle? Do you know? So I think in 80s, right? There was two scientists, Prevost and Dumas. They discovered that while they are studying about the cleavage of cycles of frog, that time they noticed something and they discovered about the cell cycle, right? So they told it is a series of stages a cell passes through to divide and produce new cells, right? So they notice there are some process, there are some steps before the cell division. That means before the new cell forming, there are some steps happening, right? Then they go through with the study. Then they discovered about the cell cycle, right? When we talk about the phases of the cell cycle, right? So one person said two phases, right? When I asked the questions in the earlier, one person said two cycle. So you should be clear. Sorry, two, not two cycle, two phases you say. So you should be clear on the phases, right? So in the cell cycle, there are 5 phases, right? So cell cycle or cell division refer to the series of events that take place in a cell leading to its maturity or subsequent division, right? So these events include duplication of its genome and synthesis of the cell organelles followed by the divisions of the cytoplasm, right? We'll discuss about these 5 phases. So you may say that person said 2 phases. I hope she said the 2 phases. Are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you say what are the 2 phases. If you explain correctly your answer, that's right. Can you please say the 2 main phases?
Intermediate phase contains S phase, G1, G2
I
phase.
need the 2 phases you list out. What are the two?
Intermediate phase and M phase.
Yeah, that interphase and M phase. If you are saying 2 phases, right? Okay, if you are saying 2 main phases, you can categorize into interphase and M phase, right? But here I have put the 5 phases. One is G1 phase, that is primary growth phase. Another one is S phase, synthesis and DNA replication phase. And G2 phase, as secondary growth phase. Collectively, these three subspaces can hold as interface. Right? And another two phases are M phase and C phase. That M phase is we can say mitosis, and C phase is cytokinesis. Right? Remember cytokinesis. If you say it as a two main phases, you can say interphase and M phase, but it's clear when you are listing it as a five phase. G1 is G2 as an interface, and M phase and C phase. Right? I think the time is 7:30. So we need to discuss further how these phases are happening, how the duration, what are the process, how each and every phases and steps, how they are organized, right, to produce the two daughter cells. Right. So we will discuss further on coming Thursday, no? So here I stop to discuss about the cell cycle, and we will
Recording
discuss
stopped.
further on Thursday, coming Thursday morning 6:30. Yes. If you're having any doubts, please quickly ask me. I need to get ready for the exam duty. Please let me know, am I fast or are you understood that matter of discussion? Please send your opinions and comments in the chat box. Then I can realize what you are going through with. Yes, one person asked. Yeah, 069. Please ask me what is your doubt in term paper. 146. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
069. Are you there?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes. Ask me.
In reference
Yeah,
style,
what's your
we
doubt?
need to in reference we need to write it Harvard style or APA style, ma'am.
How about style you write? But nowadays they changed to APA. Now you write in Harvard style.
But we mentioned to correct it as an APA style in our term paper correction.
In the term paper, what I have put, I don't remember. What I have put APA or Harvard.
First, we have instructed to write in the Harvard format. Later only they have tell about the APA format.
Wait, I will check that the term paper instruction, and I will let you know to Samina, right?
Okay.
I will inform you. I need to go to the file and check.
Excuse me, ma'am.
7, thank you. 1, 5. Yes.
Ma'am, in LMS, ma'am,
Yes,
our
tell me.
ninth practical is family asteraceae, but it's missing there, ma'am. It is uploaded as
It's
the
missing,
ninth
but
practical as
I have uploaded. No.
the family
Could you
asteraceae.
please check again now?
Okay, ma'am. Then okay.
Day before yesterday, wait. Day before yesterday, I have uploaded all that missed practicals.
Others are there, ma'am. The family asteraceae is missing.
Just